The concept we explored in our healthy food and cheap food discussion is a concept that was created by John Venn back in, I think, the 1880s. He was a very famous mathematician, logician, philosopher, and his idea is this, that we can take these overlapping circles, or the Venn diagram, and we can mark them in ways that illustrate relationships that exist among categories, okay, multiple categories. And that's what we're going to explore here, is how do we mark Venn diagrams to show the relationships that may exist among multiple categories. One of the ways we're going to mark our Venn diagrams is with shading. If we want to illustrate that there are no members of a category in a particular location of a Venn diagram, either area 1, 2, or 3, then we're going to shade that area out. Now, I know that in some math classes, they'll teach you, no, mark your Venn diagrams by shading to show where there's existence, by shading to show where something is. But in logic, for reasons I don't know, we do the exact opposite, okay? We shade when we want to show that an area of one of our circles is empty. There's nothing in it. The other mark we're going to make is an X. Anytime we mark an X in areas 1, 2, 3, or out here somewhere, what we're saying is, I'm illustrating for you that there's at least one thing here, okay? I don't know how many. I just know that there's at least one thing, all right? So now how this relates to what we're doing? Well, imagine you have a statement like all dogs are canines. That's a statement that's asserting a relationship that exists between the category of dogs and canines. And so the question for us is, well, how do we represent that relationship with these two circles? And the answer is, well, the first thing we do is we have to label our Venn diagram, because we have to know which circle refers to which category. And so what we're going to do is we're going to label the left circle, the circle that appears on the left, with our subject term. And we're going to label the circle on the right with our predicate term. Now, it doesn't actually matter how you arrange your circles. You could have them on top of each other. You could have your predicate term on the left-hand side and your subject term on the right-hand side. But we're going to very consistently label our Venn diagrams this way. The subject term is always going to be the left circle, and the predicate term is always going to be represented by the right circle. And maybe the easy way to remember that is that the subject term of a standard form statement kind of appears in the left-hand side of the statement, and the predicate term appears on the right-hand side. All right, so now the question is this. If I want to illustrate the statement, all dogs are canines, how would I mark the circles? Okay, would I shade? Would I put an X? And maybe the way to think about it is this. If it's true that all dogs are canines, where wouldn't there be any dogs? Where wouldn't there be any dogs? Would there be any dogs in area 1? Would there be any dogs in area 2? Would there be any dogs in area 3? Area 3 is outside the dog circle. Okay, so if all dogs are canines, where wouldn't there be any dogs? Did you say area 1? Yeah, totally. Because anything that is in area 1 would be a dog that's not a canine. And I'm trying to illustrate the statement, all dogs are canines. All dogs share membership in the category of canines. So they're all going to be right here in area 2, because area 2 is the area in common. Okay? So this Venn diagram, by marking it in this way, we're illustrating the statement, all dogs are canines, and illustrating the relationship that exists between these two categories. And maybe one way to think about it is this. Imagine that these are our two buildings. In this building, with 1 and 2, the red building, are all the dogs that exist. And in areas 2 and 3, the blue buildings are all the canines that exist. And you and I walk in through the door here on the side of the building into area 1, and we look around and there's no dogs. Okay, and so we say, well, this is no fun. There's no dogs. Let's get out of here. But before we leave, we'd turn out the lights. Because why leave the lights on if there's nothing there? And that's kind of what the shading represents. Turn out the lights, there's nobody home, okay? But area 2, where all the dogs are, we keep the lights on. And that shows us that, hey, in this lit up area of area 2, that's where all the dogs are. And that's also an area where canines are. Not all canines, because there may be some canines over here in area 3, but anything in area 2 is a canine, and it's also a dog. Now let's say we're trying to represent this statement. No trees are creatures with eyes. So again, we label our left circle with our subject term trees and our right circle with our predicate term creatures with eyes. And we ask ourselves, if I wanted to show the statement, I wanted to illustrate the statement, no trees are creatures with eyes, where would we indicate there isn't anything that exists? And the answer is area 2. Because area 2 is that area of our diagram where the categories share membership with each other. Anything in area 2 would be both a tree and a creature with eyes. So if it's true that no trees are creatures with eyes, there isn't anything in area 2. And so again, we turn out the lights because nothing's there. All the trees that exist are over here in area 1, and all the creatures with eyes that exist are over here in area 3, and there's nothing in common. Okay? Now imagine this. I'm going to show you that some fish are omnivores. I'm going to show that to you. I'm going to illustrate that. Okay? Now some means at least one, maybe more, but at least one. And an X is what I use to show that there's at least one of my subject category fish in some area of this diagram. Okay? Where would that X go? Did you say area 2? Man, you're rocking this. All right. Yeah, area 2, I'm going to mark a single X. And what that X is saying is, hey, you know what? There's something here. There's at least one thing here. And because this thing is here in area 2, it is both a fish and an omnivore. And that illustrates the statement, some fish are omnivores. Now, imagine I wanted to say, no. Some fish are not omnivores. Okay, some, at least one, which means I'm going to use an X. Do I put the X in area 1, area 2, or area 3? Wow, you're really rocking it. Okay, yeah, area 1. Because area 1 is going to have fish in it, but notice they're outside the omnivore building. So any fish over here in area 1, those are going to be fish that are not omnivores. And that's what the statement says. All right, so here are the 4 possible Venn diagram forms that we're going to be using. And you can see here that A statements have area 1 shaded out, E statements, no S or P, have area 2 shaded out, and then our I and our O statements have X's in areas that reflect those statements. So these are the only 4 possible Venn diagrams we're going to use. I think you have this on one of your chapter summary handouts or something like it, and so you'll want to have that as a reference as we move forward and start applying Venn diagrams to statements and eventually arguments.